Well, good morning, everybody. This is Tim Ealer. Hope you're doing well today. Today is the 18th of November, 2025, and happy Tuesday. So, I want to show you this graphic starting off. A major, well, not major, a stratospheric warming event is likely to occur. And let me get my pen going here into December, right? And this is a visualization from stratobserve.com, and maybe you can make out the vortex here, right? Stop this. You see at the beginning of this plot, which is yesterday, the polar vortex in general is a coherent structure normally, right? Move through time, remains that way. But the stratospheric warming in the upper levels disrupts the flow in the troposphere, right? And you see what happens here. The polar vortex is stretched out, and what ends up happening is there's Arctic down here, guys, right? What happens is the cold air that's normally trapped in the circle, like at the Arctic Circle, gets dislodged, either comes somewhere south, either into North America, Russia, things like that. So, pretty interesting graphic here. Just wanted to show you all this. You get towards 3 December, you see how stretched out it is. So that tells me, at least with the simulation, that definitely something to this, right? Now, so yeah, pretty interesting graphic here. And oops. So we normally think of the stratosphere as separate from the troposphere, right? But you can see there's a stratosphere, troposphere beneath it. So you can see normally a stratosphere warms with height, right? But one would say that one influences the other to some degree. So if you have a stratospheric warming event that's warm enough, it could impact the flow in the troposphere, which is where we have our sensible weather, meaning precipitation, winds, things like that. So if you tell me the mesosphere would impact the troposphere, probably not, but this doesn't really show the HPA levels, meaning pressure levels, right? But one would imagine that the pressure levels are, one would guess, the pressure levels that are mentioned here in the stratospheric warming are taken from the lowest levels here. And let's just say they warm some. But this is colder this way, right? As you can see. So they warm some, right? And you see this tropopause between it normally keeps systems from rising any more than they do, right? Where you see the tops of anvils of storms kind of flatten out. You may see them peak a little bit through there, but they don't get much higher. That's because of the warming aloft here, right? So it's kind of interesting. So yeah, I mean, if you, let's just say this warm sump up here, one would think that the upper level of the troposphere would be impacted as well, which impacts is a jet stream, which in turn impacts the flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So it makes sense, right? I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that, but that's Tim Ealer's general interpretation of that. I'll take it for what it's worth. I do have a degree in meteorology, and I am a meteorologist, but we didn't really learn a lot about the stratosphere and its impacts, right? I think that's a real specialized field, so I'm learning too. So forgive me if I'm not 100% certain on this stuff, but it's an interesting thing to look at for sure. So now I think everybody wants to know how it's going to impact our sensible weather in the United States. Of course we do. Everybody does. And, you know, one of the main things that I try to remember is when we get past 7 days out, we cannot really forecast with certainty where exactly things are going to go. We can see general patterns, right? And that's what we follow, okay, when we get that far out, because atmospheric dynamics are very complex, not well understood in the, you know, in a wide look at the atmosphere, yes, but the internal microphysic dynamics that occur within systems, very dynamic, and you know that no model at this point can forecast that and ingest the data and produce a forecast within, you know, a short period of time that some people want, and people get upset about that, but you know, we're doing a lot better than we used to. So anyway, getting off on the topic here, we're going to go on to the sensible impacts of the what we could be looking at with this, and go over the current conditions and all those other things, and severe weather outlook, and excessive rainfall, which is going to be a problem coming up as well. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. So one of the things we look at anytime you really is the Madden Julian Oscillation, which is rising air that moves generally from the West Indian Ocean, right, across the maritime continent, through the Western Pacific, and eventually sometimes through the Western Hemisphere. And that impacts our sensible weather here. And in the wintertime, it could bring all different types of weather depending on the overlying pattern, right? But it's my basic understanding that when it reaches phases 7 and 8 here, you can see this plot, right? It's hard to understand really, but it's a typical scientific plot that a lot of people can understand easily, right? You want to make it easy to understand. So this is the forecast plot from the GFS, right? And from the 17th to the 1st of December. So you have your Indian Ocean over here. This is where it starts. The 17th, right? Well, 17th here. You see the plot of the MJO, and this is where the forecast is in the red, right? So, according to the GFS, we're going to be stuck in the Western Pacific phase for a while. And I'm not certain if the MJO is actually going to make it to the Western Hemisphere. because I'm not being, negative about this, just being real, I guess, because the La Nina is in play. And when we have La Nina and you have it's competing with the MJO as far as destructive interference, let's just say, and kind of prevents the MJO from propagating across the MJO moves from west to east, guys. So keeps from propagating across the Pacific sometimes. Although Kelvin waves, which are perturbations in the atmosphere that move across the equator from west to east, can still propagate that way, but they don't really impact sensible weather in the United States. So, because they're on the equator, right? So, a little bit different there. So, let's just go through the different forecasts here. These are different variations of the GFS. You see, this is through the 17th of December, maybe moving in close to phase 8 here. This is the forecast, guys. This is just a different MJO index forecast. So you can see the uncertainty here. This is a climate forecast system. See the MJO there kind of gets stuck in the Western Pacific, which is what we've seen this year during the tropical season as well. There was a forecast for it to come all the way across the Atlantic and never made it. So, because of La Nina, right? These other models, JMA, European through the first, another European. This is an extended European. The European is the most bullish on the forecast for the MJO making it into the Western Hemisphere. And you can see the spaghetti plot here, a lot of different model runs, ensemble members. So that's kind of a general in between here, a compromise of all the model outputs. So take it for what it's worth, okay? We'll just have to monitor it. I'm not sure what the BOMM is, but it never makes it to phase 8. So, yeah, still quite a bit of uncertainty there. We'll just have to monitor it. But if it does make it to the Western Hemisphere, it could definitely bring colder temps and more enhanced precip to different areas of the continental U.S. So now we're going to go on to the forecast and the sensible weather impacts. Yeah, so I decided to go ahead and use the EPS weekly analysis to kind of show, well, it's got 500 millibar height anomalies. Let's just see if we do 850 here. All right, this gives a more idea of sensible temperatures, right? And I use the European a lot because I think it's the most accurate model. All right, guys, and so it doesn't mean it's the Bible, right? It's just it's a good model, and I like to compare model guidance, but this is just a generalized idea of what things going to happen. So 7 days from now, there'll be, large high pressure up in, well, this forecast, large high pressure surface high up north here. You can see where the warmer colors are, denotes warmer temperatures at the low levels, right? Likely warmer temperatures at the surface. Maybe some cooler temps up here in the northeast, right? Move through time here. This is the 30th, right? You see a cold air push, a little bit of a cold air push. you can see maybe a push from Canada here from the Arctic, right? Large high pressure at the surface here, near the surface, keeping it warm, okay? So, and this is the anomaly, standard anomaly, right? So, yeah, you can see the delineation here, right? We get further out in time, becomes less focused, right? There's, this is more of a general consensus, right? Because you get this far out, the models don't have as good resolution and it's not as much certainty, but you can see the pattern is generally, except up here, generally west to east still, right? With a little perturbations in the flow here, but overall, especially in the south, you have this flow like this, right? All right, so moving through time, you get the idea that maybe a northerly flow is starting to develop here, or northwesterly. High pressure ridge at the surface building offshore on the west coast. And see what we got here. We start having a high pressure, according to this model, building up here into Alaska, Canada, which would favor a northwesterly flow, and you can see that happening here. All right. But for the south, you see generally west to east flow still. All right. The further out, this is after Christmas now. Still overall showing below normal anomalies, right? For 850 millibar heights, which would lead me to believe that the chances of having cooler than normal temperatures there's a good chance of that, right? So we'll look at surface and precip. So this is like the precip anomalies, right? So previous 7 days, you can see here where the most precip is expected according to this model. In the dark browns, less precip likely. In the purples and blues and greens, more precip. All right, this is through the 24th. All right, and then see it moves further east. You have that bullseye here. We talked about this yesterday, where the most rainfall is supposed to be. So this is pretty on spot. Still dry along the east coast, right? And as we get further out, the resolution gets a little bit less because of uncertainty increases. But you see overall, still wetter than normal in the Ohio Valley up in the northeast and along the west coast. This is the 8th, right? Okay. We get further out here, becomes less certain, guys. But the pattern maybe favors a little more moisture in the south, which would be nice. But overall, not a lot of certainty that far out. But generally, you can see what it's forecasted. Maybe dry along the west coast here. So, yeah. So, what are the current hazards right now? We got these flood watches out here in the Four Corners region. Winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories, wind dense fog advisories, and some winter weather advisories here in the upper Midwest and Ohio Valley. Yeah, so as far as current temps here, we have 60s and 70s here into the deep south and the lower Mississippi Valley to Texas. 30s and 40s here in the northeast and then the upper Midwest and the northern high plains. Colder up here in Canada, of course, but and colder out here in the Mountain West. Warmer in the desert Southwest, but not too bad, I guess. So temperatures changed from yesterday. Cooler here along the East Coast, warmer here into um, the same area we just showed than it was yesterday. In the Mississippi Valley, upper Midwest into Texas. Been quite warm in Texas in the past several days. You can see the different shades here where temperatures have changed since yesterday. We had a cold front come through the northeast, I think yesterday. So pushing some cold air, but a little bit warmer than it was yesterday here. So cloud cover. We see the most cloud cover in the west here, northern high plains into the Midwest, Ohio Valley into Texas. You see where that cloud cover is, right? And in the northeast. Okay. I wish I had more time today. I had some technical issues, so I'm having to run through the rest of this pretty quick. But hope you all stick around for the rest of this. Wind gusts, highest winds, really looks like a boundary going through here right now. Probably up a level, mid-level system moving through the flow, right? But overall, high winds here, higher winds are along the northeast and along the west coast as that system moves to the south. Snowfall accumulations in the last 72 hours. Let's just look at the last 24. Quite a bit of snow here in the Rockies, in the Sierra Nevada range. A little bit up here in the North Dakota and the Northeast. Favored lake effect areas into Maine. As far as where the most precip is expected in the next 7 days, you can see it's in centering on south central Texas, right? We go back out 24 hours. You see where in the first 24 hours where the most precip is expected. Go up 48. Ohio Valley, Midwest, Plains area, and along the West Coast. And you can see where the system coming through here to the south into Texas is enhancing the rainfall here, right? Get further out. And then you go to a week out. 4, 5, 6 inches of rain expected, generally along where this boundary is along the west coast here. Looking at severe weather outlook for today, next 3 days. I have a marginal risk here into the Ohio Valley, and then tomorrow into Texas, likely probably heavy rainfall with high winds associated with it, but we'll look at that real quick. Day 1 categorical. Marginal risk here. Hail possibility. Wind with smaller risk, of course. Not of course, but tornado potential. We do have a 2% tornado risk as well. A dynamic system moving through today. So we go to day 2. You see where that thread is down there. Maybe more of a hail risk too. We'll see. Yeah, we got a marginal hail risk. Wind risk. Interestingly enough, not a wind risk. And not wind risk either right now. So that's kind of interesting. Now let's go on to the WPC forecast, excessive rainfall. We talked about this some, but the Four Corners getting the most rain right now. Slight risk of excessive rainfall and into the Ohio Valley. You have this risk moving to the south in the desert southwest into Texas, marginal risk, excessive rainfall. Day 3, this is the 18th through the 20th and the 21st. Large area of slight risk of excessive rainfall surrounded by marginal risk and along the California coast. That threat kind of stretches out here, the 21st through the 22nd. Kind of a wide area with a small area. Looks like maybe along a boundary system moving this way. Another system maybe moving on the coast here. They got a lot of rain in Southern California the past several days. And day 5, no risk right now, but we'll just have to see if that changes in the coming days. All right. So next I'm going to go over the CPC outlook for the next couple weeks. The temperature, precipitation, stuff like that. So as far as the day 8 to 14 hazards here, dry mouth this morning. Flooding possible the November 21st through the 1st where the hatched area is here. So that's been talked about for quite a few days, 2 or 3 days now. So higher confidence that that's going to happen. Slight risk of heavy precip. This was issued yesterday, 3 p.m. and be another one issued today, 25th to the 27th, and that's part of the whole outlook there. Kind of a weird looking graphic here, but slight risk of heavy snow in these areas, 25th through 27th, 25th through the 1st, 27th through the 1st of December. Yesterday there was a much higher risk of a wider area of slight risk of high winds, but today it's much smaller here on the front range of Rockies up in the northern plains, just east of the Rocky Mountains, really. Okay, so moving on to the hazardous 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Getting tongue-tied. Above normal precip. Above normal temps here east of the Rockies, 23rd to the 27th. This was issued yesterday. It'll be another one issued today. And see where the bullseye here for the most precip here. Drying out along the west coast and in the northeast. Precip chances here. Day through 14, 25th to the 1st of December. You see the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook here where it's that cold air is starting to push into the west here. And the warm air stretching out to the northeast. So boundary setting up maybe in these areas. 8 to 14 day precip outlook. The highest probabilities of above normal precip is in the northern tier of the U.S. and kind of less as you move further south. But most of the nation looking to have above normal precip chances at least right now. This was issued on the 14th. I guess another one will be issued on the 21st. So you could see the 29th through the December 12th. Still expected to be above normal here in the deep south. Below normal temps in the northern tier of the U.S. Above normal rain chances expected. Precip chances here in the northwest and in the northeast and mid-Atlantic and maybe in the south. It would be nice. But yeah. So that's all I got for today, guys. Sorry I went through this part kind of fast, but kind of run out of time today. Hope you all have a great day.